Go.
Okay, continuing on our next question. So, Robert, what is the difference between a down payment, earnest money deposit, and closing costs? Can you please explain this to our potential buyers?
Sure. So generally when you get started into the transaction, Escrow is gonna send you some paperwork, and you're gonna need to put something called an EMD, that stands for Earnest Money Deposit. So that's kind of your skin in the game, and that is still your money, and it sits in escrow, and it's kind of a good faith that you're gonna close the transaction. The down payment is based off of your sales price, and generally the minimum down payments for conventional are 3% if you're a first-time home buyer. If you're a returning home buyer, it's about 5% on conventional, and for FHA, it's 3.5% for FHA. And there's other loan products that require less and more. But anyway, a lot of times your down payment is based off of your sales price. So whatever percentage it is, it's going to be based off your sales price. The down payment does need to come from the borrower. It cannot come from the seller, and it cannot come from the lender unless you're doing a special down payment assistance program. Those may come from the lender. Also, if you get a gift, you can use the gift funds for a down payment as well. And so that helps with the down payment. The closing costs. So closing costs vary depending on the property, depending on your taxes of that property, and depending when you close too. There'll be prorated interest in your closing as well, and that would determine how much your costs are. One thing I wanted to point out though is that a lot of people look at their closing costs and they say, hey, wow, my closing costs are so expensive. You know, these are all fees that I'm having to pay. Some of these are not fees. Some of these are expenses, reoccurring expenses, like your taxes being collected, your homeowner's insurance, and then also your interest that you're paying on your loan. Those normally account for almost 50% or 40%, depending on your loan type and depending on the property type. So those, again, are going to make up part of your closing costs that a lot of people don't think about. So, and those are considered reoccurring closing. Non-reoccurring would be an appraisal, an underwriting fee, title, and escrow. Those are things that are non-reoccurring. So generally in the industry, they'll refer to as non-reoccurring or reoccurring closing cost. So just to give you kind of a general idea, that's what happens. And the closing costs may be paid by the seller, may be paid by the seller and the buyer, may be paid by the seller, the buyer, and the lender. So that is all negotiable.